Cyril Stober. Now, Nigeria's education sector has been characterized by one crisis after another. From primary up to tertiary level, many are the afflictions of the formal education system, even as the country grapples with the challenges of good governance, the economy, food, health, and security of life and property. Now, beyond the frequent face-offs between academics and government, the university system has of recent become a theater of fresh crises, from staff conduct to succession wars. Our program today brings us in contact with an academic conversant with the issues. We'll be with him in just a moment.
Close the doors, and you're in a world of your own. Travel is not just about the destination, it's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
My guest today is a renowned academic, a professor of linguistics and Nigerian languages, previously Vice Chancellor of Federal University Gashua, Yobe State, a fellow of both the Nigerian Academy of Letters and the Linguistics Association of Nigeria. Is also the Vice President of the Nigerian Academy of Letters. He is Pro-Chancellor of Bingham University. Let's welcome Professor Andrew Haruna, Secretary General of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities.
Welcome.
Professor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation, sir.
Right, thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, the university system, it's one that's been facing so many challenges, and so many commentaries have been run about Nigeria's university system. Not enough universities, too many universities, poor standards, high standards. People talk about the universities of old, questions over the listing, no Nigerian universities in the top institutions of the world, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Spread again, and facilities available for teaching and learning. In fact, even the graduates.
Yeah.
So many questions. But let's take it from the start and see the kind of university system that we run. What's in this country? Is it adequate, or how do we begin to look at it generally?
Well, I'm happy you started by enumerating the challenges and what people say about the Nigerian university system. I'm fortunate to be a Vice Chancellor. Now, if you ask me to be a Vice Chancellor, I would say take it to the marketplace. Because the Nigerian university is the only place where you have at least 6 unions fighting within an environment. Outside that you have ASU, you have NASU, you have NAT, you have several. Then you have issues of infrastructure.
There's also KONUA.
Well, KONUA is good.
Right.
You now have infrastructure, you have funding, you have limited access in terms of who would be admitted in due to lack of capacity, lack of space. You also have one of the major issues facing us today, governance structure, interference, either outside or from the inside. So when you have these issues, definitely it's not an easy thing to be a Vice Chancellor. Anyway, now you ask about the university system in general. It will be nice to really make our listeners understand or see the progression from where we started until today. If you don't mind, I give us a landscape of the Nigerian university system. Well, at a glance, the Nigerian university system has been 77 years old now. We started with 5 universities, but today we have 275 universities. Out of these 275 licensed universities, 126 of them are public universities. What we mean by public universities, funded by either federal or state governments. Then we have 147 private, and these private, some are just by private individuals, faith-based organizations, and the like. Again, within the federal government-owned, which is the public, we have 65, and the state public, we have 63. Outside this, we have 33 of these universities as specialized universities: agriculture, health sciences, technology, transport, and the like.
Sorry, why not cutting you short? Some people have raised questions. Why do you need something like a university of education? What does that mean?
Well, you need to have good teachers. Actually, I just had a meeting with the executive secretary of the NCCE. Very soon, or already, we have federal universities of education. And this comes under the purview now of the CVCNU, because they are our members. Now, we need that. The Faculty of Education train teachers, and these teachers are owners of degrees or certificates, which we call NCE. Now, if we are to have quality teachers, even the teachers in the universities, those who have not gone through the regular teaching program, they also need to be trained, because teaching is not just a job you pick by the streets. It's a professional job, like any other job. And if you don't have good teachers and you don't have good academics, then definitely you will have the bad ones teaching your children. And then the quality of your society is based on the quality of teachers you have.
Well, still along those lines, others have also questioned why you have some of the specialized universities we talked about, universities of technology or agriculture, offering courses in law.
Yeah, well, many of them are forced to. The reason I mentioned funding is a big problem. The government would set up a university and think that the university can just go and fend for themselves. Now, education is free, but is it really free? It is only in Nigeria where you find a parent will pay 250,000 for his child to attend primary or secondary school. But when you ask him or her to pay 150,000 in the university, then there will be strike. And government will tell the vice chancellors, you go and generate revenue. How will they generate revenue? A vice chancellor doesn't generate revenue. We don't have any internally generated revenue. And the education has been such that from the foundation, government was mindful and was interested in producing manpower. So the core value of the university is teaching, research, and community service. And until today, I stand to be corrected. Government provides money for personnel, which is for the teachers. They provide money for overhead, which is nothing to write home about. You hear vice chancellors are paying 300 million electricity bill in a month. Why are they going to get the money? Now, if you look at the bill or the money coming into the coffers of the university, which are municipal services, vice chancellors will ask to pay 1,000 naira from a student to get his identity card. Now, depending the number, so also caution deposit and some municipal services. When you see this figure, you think that this is internally generated revenue. No. The VCs must provide these services to the students from whom they collected this money from. Now, government does not supplement that. And overhead doesn't even come, if it comes at all.
In all of this, where is research funding?
Well, research funding, this is the issue I told you. There is, now TED Fund has come. Okay, I belong to, in the past, I was a member of the National Research Fund. There is a ceiling of 550 million, which is available from TED Fund. And professors, academics are entitled to go and bid for it. Yes, but research is not something you do within a span of 2 years. Some researches will take you 10, 15 years. And there must be continuous funding of this. But in most cases, you see, academics are asked to go into the lab, produce this, and come up with a result. If you are not patient to carry a systematic research for many years, you may not be able to get any result, or else you will just lose your deposit. So huge sum of money is mentioned. Then you also have to look at the environment. The environment. If you give me 50 million to go and conduct research, at the laboratories there, I may buy my chemicals, and then suddenly there is outage of power, no electricity.
We'll continue this conversation shortly.
Fly in fly better. Thank you.
All right. We'll continue this interesting conversation shortly.
Fly better. Thank you.
Right, we're looking at all of this from the point of view that the universities are supposed to be a key factor in the development of human resource, which is the most important of all. And when you have such situations, how then do you guarantee the quality of what's churned out from these institutions?
Well, Cyril, I was privileged to have taught abroad for many years before coming home. I was always happy to be in my office. The furniture is good, the environment is clean and nice, the electricity is there, so I don't think of all this side attraction. But I can tell you the offices where lecturers carry out their researches, or the laboratories where they go and conduct experiments, they are not a place where you would like to be there for hours. As a matter of fact, due to lack of funding by government, they are encouraging truancy in the university system. If a lecturer has a good office, he has no business moving out of the office to go to be visiting people from office to office. But because he doesn't have a good furniture, he doesn't have electricity to even fund, to run his lab tests, the next thing he finds his way out.
And so when you leave those aside, you also come to governance issues, which of recent have become another crisis in the university system. Succession crisis. A long time ago, it was smooth sailing for one vice-chancellor to step out and another one stepped in. But now, it's not as easy as it used to be, is it? Because people ask, there has to be something if the contest for becoming VC has become cutthroat to the extent that it's courts of law that have to now determine. Then the picture you paint, if someone were to offer you a VC now, you'd say, no, take it to the market.
Absolutely right.
Probably there's something else which you may be missing there, where some would be ready to go to any lengths to be VCs.
Well, position is something that most Nigerians want to occupy, but you have to look at for what purpose. But if you are going for self-interest, then there is a reason for you to really cut the throat of each other. But the critical thing, you mentioned the smooth sail in terms of governance. I must tell you, you only look at the quality of governance in the university in the past. It's not like what you find today. ASU has provided solutions many times. If you want to appoint pro-chancellors, make sure that you get people who understand the university culture very well. I am a pro-chancellor myself. I know my role as a pro-chancellor. A pro-chancellor has minimal role inside the university. We are not executive chairman. We are on part-time. As a matter of fact, I have to ask my vice-chancellor before I can go into the university because he is the chief executive. But if I have to say, because I am the pro-chancellor, as most pro-chancellors will say, like myself, if I am around, the vice-chancellor ceases to exist. That is wrong. He is the one running the day-to-day activities of the university, and he brings his policies for you to ratify. He brings his budget for you to ratify. And the role of a pro-chancellor is to add value, not to take from the university. And which means before you finish your tenure as a pro-chancellor, you should be proud to say, I built this lecture theater, or I'm able to bring my friends to help this university with so and so projects, even if you want your name to be put on. But the challenge is, if you have pro-chancellors who become a burden to the vice-chancellors, definitely a vice-chancellor who knows his right will challenge that. Before I conclude this section, let me give you one practical area. I read the Procurement Act. The Procurement Act makes the chief executive to be the chairman of the tenders board. Now I am a pro-chancellor. I have no business of sitting on the tenders board. It's the vice-chancellor. Let him go and handle that. Because if there is an issue tomorrow about tenders, about finances, he should go and answer it, not I, who is a political appointee. So if someone has no clue of how the university is, and you want to come in dealing with intelligent people, with students who are seeking for knowledge, definitely you'll have a big challenge. So for me, I don't have much problem because I know the system.
And speaking of which, in all of this, the position of governing councils, where I'm going to is with this governance structure, the governing councils as well.
Yeah, well, the governing council, definitely you need the governing council to be able to moderate what goes on, but to give policy direction, but not to interfere in the administration of the university. Now, for government to get it right, they should have people who really understand what education is. They themselves, they have a clear record of people who have contributed to education. Not as a place whereby, well, you have helped us win election, you go in there because you have to be a member of council. No. But the interesting thing with the university is, despite the challenges we have, everyone wants to be connected with the university. You know the reason why? The university is the collection of people where you have intelligent people and students. You have professors and students. Professors who study, who conduct research for knowledge's sake, not because they want to make money. Students who have come to learn so that they can help themselves and at the same time help society. Now, if you bring people into this kind of community, which has its own culture and its own setup, definitely you will overheat the system. So the best thing is to understand who are being sent there.
Now, we've seen all kinds of situations of recent where visitors had to step in to, as they say, stabilize a system that was running riot over succession challenges, appointment of vice-chancellors, whether due process was followed, whether those appointed were competent or not. And suddenly it became a thing, a regular occurrence where one VC would be appointed and maybe a few weeks later there would be an uproar in the institution about their suitability for the position, leading to crises. And all of this, while all of this takes place, how does it impact on teaching and learning?
Well, definitely it brings disruption, which is a very sad thing. You see, my task in the CVC-NU is to be able to really help government do the right thing and also popularize those policies which are right, and to create collaboration and strengthen excellence. Now, if there is a lot of disruption in the university system, I cannot even sell the university system of Nigeria to other countries for the simple reason why. Why are we not getting it right? Nigeria has a lot of intelligent people. Nigeria has a lot of excellent people. I have traveled with vice-chancellors abroad, and you meet Nigerians. Why can they not function in their own home country? Why wouldn't they function? The simple reason is because of this interference. You see, when you are made a leader, like I said, I'm a pro-chancellor. I'm not the boss of my VC. He got that office through interview. So he contested for it and won. For me, I'm just an appointee. You can remove me and put me in tomorrow. And people may see it like a political reward. And if I allow my political connection to interfere with a system which has its own tradition, definitely for the vice-chancellor who knows what is right and who knows is right, he will challenge it.
Now, we can say that where the federal government owns institutions, or state governments, yes, it would be one of those things we would say, look, it is a government that funds this, and so it has to determine to a large extent what goes on in there. And perhaps governments may have their reasons for placing certain people in certain positions, but there are laid down prescriptions for the appointment of vice-chancellors.
Yeah.
Why does it seem that sometimes, even in federal institutions, it would seem as if those laid down procedures are not followed?
Well, you see, if you get the right pro-chancellor, definitely wherever you get the right pro-chancellor, you find that the procedure is seamless. That's what I can say about that. But where you find a pro-chancellor who perhaps looks at his political clamor, his political networking, more than the academic networking, which is to bring value to the university system, that's why you have this kind of challenges. Not that because there are no good people. There are excellent pro-chancellors, there are excellent vice-chancellors. Even within the Vice Chancellor circle, you may find some who may be too ambitious. They would like to see, I have a connection, and let me go and reach out. And this connection, if you have somebody who doesn't know the rules, he will also use his connection, and then those who know what is right, they will challenge it, because no professor will like to see any cowboy sitting on him or her. So, for example, if we say we need a professor for you to be a vice chancellor, you need to serve for 10 years. And this is like the standard, okay? Then in the middle of the race, you say, no, it must be 3 years. Why must it be so? You see, if I have a leadership position, I must be sensitive that I must also have the culture of shame. I wouldn't like to be dismissed as a pro-chancellor when I have seen the signal.
All right. Well, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on the system, and we'll delve into other aspects. Stay with us.
Fly Emirates, fly better. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Prof. In the private, well, let's take a look at the private system, the private universities now, where individuals have set up. And they said this is where you find a lot of that happening. The proprietor, the chancellor, is the monarch of all he surveys. But the university governance system is subject to rules and regulations. Have we had cases where proprietors override those systems? Is that in the interest of education?
No, definitely when you override rules and regulations, it's not in the interest of education. Now, you see, some people or some proprietors will think because I own the university, I put in my money, they will run it like a hotel. They will like it as a business venture. It is not like that. If you want a university to mature, you will start it now. Maybe it will take you 50 years before you can have a brand name. But are you ready for that? That's why in some parts of the country, you may find that there are more filling stations than you find universities. Because people like to have quick money, okay? But if you invest in education, you know you are investing in the future. And some of the benefits may not be during your lifetime. I'm a professor, I have been writing articles, my ideas, my vision, I tell you, may not be useful during my lifetime. I may not see it in practice during my lifetime. But I know definitely one day after my lifetime, somebody who will go through the literature will say somebody had said this, had said this, had said that. So even if you approach scholarship just for the stomach's sake, you may not get somewhere else. But a proprietor who wants to run a university with a business mindset, put in my dollars or put in my naira, I want to duplicate it and multiply it and get it tomorrow, definitely there will be tension and friction.
Let me ask you this. It's said that there should be a connection between town and gown. How well has this worked in Nigeria?
Well, you see, if you look at the first generation universities, these things have started very well. You know, the town and the gown is a community. You see, we have a community of people who operate in the same environment and they understand themselves. But now, within a minute, you find that 24 universities are springing up around the place. Issues of land comes in. How did the people own this? You know, all sorts of compensation and matter of this nature comes in. Although government will give you a university in a place and tell you provide the land. But the owners of the land will tell you we need to be compensated. Now you have to do a lot of sensitization for people to understand the benefit of education. I benefited from it. I think I don't want to sound too immodest, but I had told you in one of the conversations we have had, I started my life as a shoe shiner. I constantly make reference to this, but the quality education I received is what brought me to where I am today. And this town and gown was critical at that time, because those who built houses around the universities, they saw it as their contribution to the development of the university, because education has come closer. I just returned from Botswana. The people contributed cows for the university to be built. And every member of the community I met, he's proud to see this university running because he has put it something. But unfortunately, for many of us, we see the university as the big cow where we need to milk.
Today's universities, how well do they provide these opportunities for the shoe shiners, as you were at that time, to be the best they can?
Well, a good number of universities try to go there is what we call merit list. But the issue is, despite this number of universities, over 275 universities in Nigeria, we don't have the carrying capacity of 1 million students.
Okay.
So if we don't have the capacity of 1 million students, well, JAM will tell us the exact figure, but I'm just giving the rough estimate as far as I know. Then you can see the cutthroat competition. But my worry is it true that every child must go to the university?
Well, that's part of the conversation we'll take up in the next segment of this after this time out. We're still here with Professor Andrew Haruna, the Secretary General of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. Prof, this conversation has taken us to where you yourself asked the question, must every Nigerian child go to university? Meaning there are so many other areas of tertiary education or of learning which could be taken advantage of. But everyone wants to have a chain of degrees.
Yeah, because...
right.
Sorry. Well, we have turned our country to be certificated country. Everyone wants to have a paper. Now, if you have this paper, what do you do with it? But you see, university is a highly theoretical institution. That's why I said the university environment is where you find people who study for knowledge's sake, not because they want to make money. They can make money at the end of the day using their intellectual property rights. Fine, but you are searching for knowledge. Now, if you go to polytechnics, this is where you use your hands, you use skills. Now we are bringing entrepreneurship into the university for the simple reason, you know, as I told you, up to the 1990s, we are only mindful of producing accountants, bankers, lawyers, secretaries, those who, sociologists, okay, forgetting about other aspects of life. Now we are all going entrepreneurship. Even the arts is being like neglected, and we are losing our history. And we have seen the damage for not including history in our curriculum in the last few years. But thank God it's back now. So if we look at it this way, we must have a cutoff point. If we say we want the top 30 of Nigerian graduates, students who go through JAM to be in the university, and you said you need only 200 points, anything below that, no university should admit. Then perhaps you are filtering the top best. But that does not mean that the others are not qualified to go to university. They can go to university by going through other programs. I can go to College of Education. I will finish. I am even more matured. I will see the benefit of even moving further. I can get a higher education. But whereby you find every child wants to go to the university, and we have beautiful schools like polytechnics where you provide skills, where you can use your hands and earn a living, and neglect it because of our mindset. That is what I find is wrong.
Well, in the craze for those certificates, you find that parents have sent their children and wards to institutions that are less than even the quality of the ones we talk about here. In neighboring countries, and quite recently there was a big uproar about those who had graduated from some institutions in certain countries that were not even recognized, and they've been parading these certificates and holding positions. And how can we get out of that situation?
Well, the best way to get out of that situation is to get our system right. Let's get our own right. Because when you go to those universities, you will find Nigerians teaching. And these are the same Nigerians we have rejected or made them not to look good at home. You go all over the world, you find Nigerians. Nigerians want to work at home. The situation is such that the environment is not healthy for them to work. They are not given the opportunity to put their best. The question which you ask me, I'm able to survive it because I was given an equal platform, and as a shoeshine boy, I worked and nobody discriminated against me. But today, as a professor, I tested it when I was appointed a VC. I was told, this is not your state. It is not their state of origin. What has that got to do with my certificate? Or people will say, this is not, we must have an indigene. Is our certificate indigenous? So if you find anyone using those extra values or issues to add to an appointment of an educationist, I think something is wrong. Secondly, our parents are sometimes the greatest culprit. All what I want my child to be like this. Why must we insist on that? The children must have the liberty, give them the platform to study what they love. I love cultures, I love languages, I love linguistics. But I can tell you at my back here, there's a scar because my father wanted me to read medicine. But I don't want to read medicine because I know I will never be a good medical doctor. So imagine I have a certificate as a medical doctor. I'll be killing people and I will really have a bad feeling. But I'm very satisfied and very happy with the course I read, which is languages.
There's a trend to this which I will pursue in a moment.
Fly better. Thank you.
Right, Prof. It takes us to languages, linguistics and languages, and this also is part of our education system. And a lot of Nigerians are beginning to challenge so many policies, somersaults in terms of evolving a proper education system where Nigerians can stand tall. They see one policy in place, in a few years, another administration comes in and it turns around. There are also those who have pressed for what they call the indigenization of the education system in terms of languages spoken, where at some point in time, the level of intelligence is determined by the proficiency in a language that is neither indigenous nor, studied well within our systems. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought as a linguist, we must understand that Nigeria is a multilingual state. And the policy on the language policy in the educational sector does not discriminate against any language. You are free to teach your child at the with the language of the immediate community until English. Our forefathers, when you listen to them speak English, they speak impeccable English. Why? They were taught in the local languages, and they were taught English only as a subject. And when you hear them speak, you know that they know what they were talking about, whether in chemistry, biology, history. Now, you have Nigerians speaking a second language which they themselves have not mastered, and they are passing it on to their own children. What do you expect? It will affect the quality, the standard, or whatever you will make it. Let me give you an example. Pardon me, our listeners. I'm a linguist, and I must use this practical example. If you have a teacher who will not say hand, but will say and, head, he will say ed, church, he will say shush. Okay? He can be a professor. But you see, these pronunciation habits, you pass it on to your child. Or you find another person who comes in, he says, okay, zafiful, piptipo, instead of sick, okay? This kind of thing. Tests, you say tesis. Now, the children just mimic it from nursery to primary school. Would you blame them? But you see, so this is the effect of using a second language which you are not also proficient in. So what is wrong? If you go to the football field today, you don't hear any of these major international languages being used. It's the same local languages. So let's own it up. I know there is a market value of language, but let us use it at the right place.
So what you suggest is, in the formative years, the use of the indigenous or mother tongue or, and such descriptions would be better, and then the study of English as a second language would be formalized, and that would even make people more proficient.
It's just the kind of somersault we find in government policies. You see, government comes, they are too much in a hurry. They don't look carefully sometimes to the research we do in the universities. The research has been done severally, or even on Yoruba language, on Hausa language. The child learns best in his mother tongue, and then he takes the international language later.
How do you respond to suggestions that it would be very difficult at this point in time, since especially in the sciences, there would be a need to now retrain all the teachers in order to translate scientific terminologies into, local languages that will be understood. How do you see that as an impediment to a change?
Even if we don't want to take this gigantic project with the English language, do the current teachers also understand the subject better? This is a question we have to ask ourselves. You see, when we are born blank. And language is an instrument of socialization. You are socialized into it. So if we allow these children to be socialized into the scientific world with the language of the immediate community, they will excel. We have examples all over the world. Why is our Nigerian case different? And government may not also have the wherewithal to manage that. Look at the spread of private schools. How do you legislate even in those places? Parents are sending their children as early as 9 months to go and start learning English, because English is the ladder to climb into the higher levels of society. But what of the capacity of the child's brain?
How do you respond to suggestions that what we have is a proliferation of institutions with dwindling quality? I mean, there's been arguments back and forth when institutions are graded and they say Nigerian universities are not among the top institutions of the world. And sometimes the argument is that those institutions, those bodies that grade them, who are they? They're not likely to be benevolent to Nigerian institutions. But generally, what is wrong that Nigerian institutions cannot be graded, with their counterparts the world over?
You see, there's a lot in grading an institution to be first, second, third, or so. Now, take for example, there's a university. We need foreign students to be there. We need lecturers to be there from other places. These are all indices of being international. Now, if the climate is not conducive to attract foreign students, you can even get foreign exchange. The climate is not conducive to bring lecturers. Then how do you become first class? But the interesting thing, despite all these challenges, the Nigerian child goes, and despite all these challenges, the Nigerian lecturers undergo. The moment a child from Nigeria gets out to another country where there is order, there is structure, you see the child just picks up. So we should ask ourselves, is it the Nigerian lecturers who are bad? Is it the quality of education which we give? I can say it's not always the case. The issue is where this child is being socialized. The environment is what is very critical. The university environment, the community environment, the kind of governance structure, the kind of turmoils we find within the system, it doesn't give the child the stability to think straight.
It takes time to produce teachers and lecturers, and you cannot do that overnight. So if you have a proliferation of institutions, where are the personnel coming from? How well have they become, experts in their fields as to impart knowledge elsewhere? If a lecturer starts off and with what they call shopping or something that goes around for new institutions, and within 1 year, 2 years, we have a professor, then we begin to wonder what he would impart.
Yeah, well, because I mentioned earlier, the certificated society in which we are has created some of these issues. You know, if you set up a university, let me give you the statistics I have here. Between 1999 to 2024, from 29 universities to 274. It takes you not less than 20-something years to produce a professor. And then these same professors, when they tell you this is how to go about things, because we have monetized every aspect of our life, we say this guy is not talking, is talking rubbish. Well, I am in the teaching profession not because I don't like money, but I have passion for it. I want to see brains, young brains developed because I benefited from it. But every day I move around, if I show my little 2-bedroom apartment which I built with my money, people will say, oh, this is a boys' quarters. If that is what it means to show as a professor, there is no point of being a professor. But I always said, if you want to be remembered, develop the manpower base of your society, write books. It's not to go and build houses. You can build houses, it can be demolished and be rebuilt.
Monetization, that word, we'll explore more about it in just a moment. Professor Andrew Haruna, this question is almost an open-ended one. And we think that maybe many Nigerians can even answer it, but we would like your personal perspective of this. How well are Nigerian academics paid?
Because Nigerian academics, they are just doing a charity work. They are not well paid because they know what they are worth if they move out to another place. And they are in Nigeria not because they don't have opportunities. Some they are here because they want to serve the nation, and who will do it for us? But definitely they are not well paid. And we know what that means with the current economic situation. And how do you expect a lecturer to give you a good scientific paper when he doesn't have electricity? The Vice Chancellor cannot power laboratories because of lack of electricity. So the salary, you see, when you take salary, it's not sometimes very critical. The environment, the condition under which people work. If inflation is down, you don't need much, huge sum of naira to be able to go to the market. But this is where we are. You hear thousands, but it doesn't. You come home with just a plastic bag. So Nigerian lecturers are operating in the same environment. So they are not definitely well paid. I see my colleagues, anyone who is working, who is doing this teaching job, he's doing it because he has a passion. There could be some exceptions, of course. But definitely, I teach young students, if I ask them, would you like to be like myself? They say, Daddy, Prof, we just want the certificate and we want to become something else. Then who will be my successors tomorrow when I go? This is the situation where we see it daily.
Let me return to this environment. Well, the question of what the universities and what they can attract is, do you sometimes worry that you have social organizations who organize all kinds of things and they pump in a lot of money? They organize contests, social competitions, that attract huge rewards. But you hardly hear of anyone who's saying, let us give 50 million naira to 10 first-class graduates. Or let us give 100 million to the youngest first class from this institution. Yet you go out and you find people organize social Especially I'm referring to what has become so popular on reality TV, where people walk away with hundreds of millions. Nobody's thinking of rewarding excellence in academics. Does that worry you sometimes?
No, it worries me, because if you don't pump in money to develop the brains of your children, then definitely you will have fools governing you tomorrow. The kind of leadership you get in the future depends on the kind of the product you produce today. Even, I gave you an example too, we teach students, you may dress one, they may not even copy your dressing as the lecturer, but you see that they copy the hairstyle and the dress of where they can get money, quick money. But now, if these rich people know where to invest, they can invest in scholarship. Thank God there are a good number of people who are doing this. I've started to see this. But unfortunately, it is not yet enough. But I have started to see some putting their money in it. But some think that I can do this by building a university. To me, if that is where you want to put your money because you want to build up the brains of the young child in a business market setup, I think it's a little bit funny. It will be a challenge. But where you can pay money, pick children from the roadside, finance them from beginning to the end. Because if I have not been financed by government funds, the scholarship which I got, I could have ended up like any boy picking bottles by the roadside. And the only difference between I, Professor Andrew Haruna, and those collecting bottles by the roadside is just because I went to school. Nothing different. So if government will look at me as a success story, then why wouldn't we invest in these small boys? And I come from the northern part of the country. A boy will memorize the whole Quran in less than 10 years. Put him in a good classroom. This guy will do wonders. And we still say we allow him or her to be floating by the roadside. To me, I think this is criminal.
Well, we're inching towards the close of this, but we'll still have one or two matters to take up with Professor Andrew Haruna. We're about rounding off. And in all of this, how would you like to see the university system improve in current circumstances? I know, yes, it's, from funding. And in any case, some say some of the universities themselves should do more to attract research funding. What have they churned out? Why would anyone want to put his money into an institution when he can't see what they have to offer?
Yeah, well, first, let me appreciate, in many respects, the government is trying to put different, structures to see that there is stability in the education sector and providing loans and what have you. Let it be carefully thought out. Okay, my task is not to say it's wrong or right. It's a good step forward. Secondly, let the government also think carefully in terms of the kind of individuals they appoint to govern the university. That is, the governing councils. They should listen to the academics, and they should also find people with proven record. I'm not saying there are none in the system.
Is the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities taking up this with the authorities?
Well, this is one of my roles. You see, I am the secretary of the Pro-Chancellors. Okay, and my task is to see that there is a smooth relationship between the Pro-Chancellors and the Vice Chancellors.
And then you also have the Vice Chancellors.
Okay. So you see, like I am married, the Vice Chancellors contribute their money and the subscription. It is with that I'm being paid. So I am like a wife with two husbands.
You speak with the Vice Chancellors, you speak with the Pro-Chancellors.
But my task is always that to minimize friction, to understand better, to understand each other better. That is always my role. Not to say you are wrong, you are right. No, but to be able to understand better. And I'm happy. They are a good number of our Pro-Chancellors in the past and now. In the next 1 month or so, I am organizing a conference, a retreat for all the Pro-Chancellors of federal universities and their Vice Chancellors in a secluded area where they will dine together, talk together, out of the university environment and see themselves as partners in progress. So this is one of the tasks we're doing. And I'm happy that also there are quality Pro-Chancellors that are in the system, and they are providing. The current chairman of the Pro-Chancellors is a former secretary of the government, former minister of defense, and he has wealth of experience. He just finished conducting an interview in his university. You see, because of his wealth of experience, everything went seamless.
All right.
So these are the kind of thing I want to see, and I pursue this very well.
All right. There are so many things to talk about, but time again has caught up with us, and we must be saying our goodbyes to our guests shortly. Professor Andrew Haruna, would like to thank you for coming on and talking to us about these issues, and seeing that the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities is working to smoothen things, and you're optimistic that these frictions would eventually peter out. And
no, definitely. From what I have seen, the reception I have received from the Pro-Chancellors themselves and also the Vice-Chancellors, and all what I pray, every day I ask God to give me the wisdom to see how they can blend for the benefit of the Nigerian child and for the benefit of the system. Remembering that they only have 4 years. After 4 years, what next?
All right.
Let everybody be remembered with a good legacy.
All right. Professor Andrew Haruna, Secretary General, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, it's been interesting talking to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's our program today. We thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with One-on-One. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.